Hi everyone, I'm Sheryl Gottschall, and today I'm here with Damien John Nott, who in the last 3 years has become known as an Australian Skywatcher, and he's been collecting lots and lots of footage and photographs of unexplainable objects, I guess you'd call them, or UFOs as we know them.
Yep.
Yeah, so tell us, Damien, how did you get involved in the UFO subject in the first place?
Well, originally I got involved when I was 9 after a sighting. I started researching the phenomena and trying to work out what it was that I saw, and also trying to prove my mum wrong because she thought I saw an aeroplane, and I knew that, you know, aeroplanes aren't small balls that follow you down the street and mimic your movements. So I kind of knew that she was wrong, and I wanted to prove her wrong. I know it's a bad way to get into the phenomena, but at the same time I also wanted to prove to myself that what I saw was, I knew it was something strange even at that age, but I wanted to know what it was, you know, and so a typical child's curiosity, I started reading about UFOs, started going to libraries, borrowing books and all that sort of stuff, and, you know, watching the documentaries, all that sort of kind of jazz, and basically immersing myself into the phenomena as much as I could, just to try and find an answer. So that's where it started for me. It sort of backed off when I was about 11 or so, and, you know, with being a kid and all that, and I started getting into other things and sports and all that, but it came back when I was 12 after a major sighting with my 2 stepbrothers, and we were camping out, and we had a red light that was being chased around the sky by 2 other lights, and it was just the most, it was for 15 minutes this happened. It was one of the longest sightings we've had, you know, and it's something that affected my stepbrothers, something that really affected me too, because my initial sighting of a red sphere, and then seeing another red sphere being chased away, and it's like, okay, what's that red sphere about? Maybe he's not such a good thing or something, who knows, but it was like they wanted to keep him away from us. It's bizarre, but that sort of launched me into, you know, so for the past 26 years I've just done as much research as I can, spoken to people, you know, had my own sightings and everything like that, and trying to correlate what it is, and still we're no closer to an absolute answer, you know.
So at some stage though, like with people who get involved in the UFO subject, you get to a point where you go, well, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that.
Yeah.
Okay, then you start saying extraterrestrial. So what point for you did you sort of, or did you cross that line, and is that what you're thinking now? Not particularly about what you're filming, but about the whole subject, or what it could be. Sure.
Well, look, I've always kept it neutral. I've never really gone down they're all alien kind of road, because I can't prove it myself. You know, I've never actually shaken hands with one and he said, yeah, I'm from Zeta Reticuli and I am a grey and all this sort of stuff. I know they do exist. I'm sure they have. I've had dreams of them. I've seen them. You know, so many millions of reports from around the world of people who've seen the same thing. You know, so it's either a mass contagious, you know, hysteria, or there is something happening to these people. And you know, the topic, the more you look into it, the stranger it becomes, as you know. It's not just straightforward as tin, you know, or metal discs coming from Mars and, you know, coming down into Earth and, hey, how you going, Earthlings? There's something much deeper involved in this, and paranormal, you know, things that happen as well on the side. We've had so much correlation between, you know, paranormal activity and ghost activity, activity in your home as well, you know, and it's incredible. It's like, the more you look into it, the stranger it becomes, and the more you realise you don't have an actual answer. So I try not to say, look, they're aliens or they're this or they're that. We don't know where they all come from. You know, they may come from different places. There may be extraterrestrials, there may be interterrestrials, extra dimensionals, you name it, words we couldn't even possibly fathom yet because our science can't even understand that, you know. But yeah, definitely there's another dimensionality to them as well as other paranormal phenomena. And my personal belief is that they both use the same, whether it be a dimension or portal or something, and they can sort of stream themselves from one side and appear here just like that. And it's not just like a craft coming from a long travel in space, you know, like as you know, like our scientists think that there's no way they could be coming here because, you know, they must use rocket fuels, and they must be, you know, even if they're millions of years advanced, they must still be using rockets, and so therefore they're governed by physics. They're governed by our physics. We're humans. We don't know exactly what's going on out there in the universe. We're only sort of guessing. Science is still learning. We're all still learning all the time. We're still finding things on this earth, animals and creatures every day that we never knew existed. You know, and at the same time, we're finding new specimens of animals on this earth where more others are dying as well. So there's life all throughout this universe, no doubt. I think there's life in space. There's life all around us at all times, you know, and it's just a fascinating subject, and something really, really interesting. And it makes you sort of bang your head against the wall sometimes, you know. But yeah.
So your focus has been on getting something on film, on still photos and footage.
Yeah.
But have you actually ever seen a being that you don't know what it is?
Okay, I've seen things in dreams. Okay. They were so realistic. I could feel the cold in the dream. I could feel everything was just like I was there, you know, and it was incredible. And you wake up from that and you could smell things, you know, and you know, normally in dreams you don't smell anything, you don't feel cold, you don't feel anything like that. You're just sort of asleep, have a weird dream, wake up and barely remember it most times, you know. But this, dreams that I've had when I've been on craft or whatever the case may be, they stick with me, you know, and you'll remember them the second you wake up, especially if you have marks afterwards. That's something you can't sort of deny, and you've got to, okay, is this a coincidence? What the hell's going on? That's happened to many thousands of people around the world with the same sort of deal. So if it's a case where they're visiting people or taking people in their dream state or whatever the case may be, maybe they're not taking the physical body, maybe they're just taking what we call a soul and then teaching the soul things and then putting the soul back in the body. Perhaps they are taking the body and this is why marks are being left. Or maybe they're sucking the soul out of the marks and that's the marks are being left from, you know, where the soul's going up. Who knows? Like, it's the strangest thing, and it's no, I think it's fascinating. It really is. It's just it's something I really can't give an answer to. I don't know what they are, who they are, and you know, I think some are from all over the place. There's life everywhere, definitely.
So, if you could meet an extraterrestrial, who would you like to meet, or what type of extraterrestrial would you? Is there some sort of criteria to the type of being that you'd like to meet?
That's an interesting question. It's the first time I've ever been asked that. It's really good. Okay, I would, if I was going to meet an extraterrestrial and shake his hand or speak to him, I'd love to meet a grey. Just, I know it sounds like you could meet any extraterrestrial you want, reptilian or whatever the case may be. I'm sure the greys are real, and I'd love to just pick one up and hey, how you doing? Take them to the movies and chill out and be friends or whatever, and tell me the secrets of the universe or whatever the case may be. Did you create us? Why are we here? Who are we?
Well, that's the other part of the question: is what would you ask them? Yeah,
like look. It'd be endless. Like I wouldn't let it go until I had all the answers I wanted. So it'd be with me for a week, and it'd probably be really sick of me by the end of the first day. But at the same time, I'd be asking everything. Why are we here? Do you know the secret of eternal life? A lot of different things. Scientific questions about the universe, questions about other dimensions, portals. Anything and everything. It's I don't think I'd stop asking really. I'd just, he'd probably zap me with a ray gun and go, look, that's it, I'm going back up to my ship now. It's
like
you and your humans.
A mental bucket list. You've got all these questions you want to get about.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's a curiosity thing, and if they are as intelligent as what we think they are, apparently they don't speak with their mouth, and it's a telekinesis kind of thing. So the questions would be asked in the mind, and instantly you'd be getting answers straight off the bat without any, in-between thoughts or anything. It'd be just answers, almost like downloads, which people will say that they have on quite a fair basis sometimes, and especially after contact, with whatever. So, I'd be happy just to listen to a little grey in my head for a week and, listen to all those answers as long as I knew that,
You know what they say, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, that's true. But bring it on. Like, seriously, I'd really, that'd be a great opportunity to meet and, just find out what this is all about. Why are you coming here? Who are you? Look, we know they exist. It's just the why and how and those little questions. But they're really big questions,
They are big questions.
Yeah.
So how long do you think extraterrestrials might have been on planet Earth?
Look, personally, I believe for a very long time, probably since the start of creation, before the start of creation. Look, it's my own personal hypothesis, and obviously you can't prove anything, but it's just a thought after my years of research on that we are a created species, and quite possibly, like a good analogy is like a farmer with his sheep. You don't go down and lie with your sheep at night and make sure that, and sleep with them and do all this sort of stuff and abduct your sheep. You make sure that they're fed and watered and they got water and that and all that stuff. You don't go and talk to your sheep, so it's almost like a similar kind of relation that we have to them. It's like an observation relationship, but certain people they seem to pick to go the next step with. And I believe that is because certain people can handle that next step and are open to that, learning more, finding out more about it and delving deeper into the high strangeness side of it. And whereas other people are blocked off to that fact, and so therefore, they'll never see anything in their lives. A lot of people will see and a lot of people won't. So I think it's there's a whole bunch of little things. I think that maybe psychic ability has something to do with why they select certain people as well. It's a possibility. And it's interesting. Bill Chalker did a study a few years ago, and he correlated that I think it was 98% of people, 99% of people they interviewed out of the 100 people who claimed to have abduction experiences also claim to have had some sort of psychic ability during their lifetime, whether it be an empathic ability or whatever the case may be. And I know me, I'm the same. I used to have weird stuff happen all the time when I was a kid. Look, okay, I think extraterrestrials have been here before humans. I believe that they've been tinkering with the ape men, the Neanderthals, Homo erectus, trying to create an advanced species, because the ultimate thing for an intelligent being or civilization to do would be to create another intelligent being. That'd be the ultimate thing that they could do. Now we're doing the same thing. We're creating cloned sheep and stuff like that, and who knows what else. And robots and all this kind of stuff, So we're artificial intelligence. We're talking about this stuff now, and it was, fiction in movies a few years ago, but they're working on programs that, can beat people in chess and all this sort of stuff. So it's, it's out there, and it's quite a possibility they've been here engineering this Earth, quite possibly they even made this Earth, who knows? I don't think that they've just stumbled across us accidentally, like while cruising around in their spaceship and, there's a nice looking place, let's go check that out,
And yet, there's a lot of resources on planet Earth for, say, interstellar travellers.
Sure.
So, I mean, they have needs like we have needs if we went out into space.
Yeah.
So do you think that's a possibility, that Earth is like a resource planet?
Definitely. Oh, look, we have gold, we have quartz crystal, we have all these beautiful things that are in our planet. And look, a lot of UFO sightings have been correlated with, coal mines and gold mines and, all this sort of... Dunedoo in itself has a massive vein of quartz crystal running directly through it. And this is the way that it runs was exactly the way that we used to see the UFOs travel up and down, east to west, not all the time, but most of the time. And it was really bizarre, almost like they were on a flight route. And whereas the other flight route with the aeroplanes would be, south to north, north to south, and it would be this way. So we'd know, and you'd see the difference between them, So they may be here for possibly recharging power in their ships, or, like maybe they get energy off humans as well. Maybe they can convert that into power somehow, because we do give off energy, and we can affect people around us with our energies. The old saying, when you walk into a room and someone can affect the whole crowd just by being in a room without speaking. Edgar Mitchell's looking at that sort of stuff, this transference kind of thing at the moment. And I think it's fascinating. I think it's a good possibility, and I can't speculate exactly why they're here, but they are here, and there is a lot of strange correlations with, these places on Earth that have these minerals and deposits and all sorts of stuff like that. So, but it's deeper than that. I think it's. I think maybe some of them are coming here for that reason. And I don't think there's just one group or two groups or three groups. I think there's a whole bunch of different things here. Life, some sort of life. We think it's paranormal or para whatever, but the reality is it's probably just natural. We just don't know about it yet. Like probably some sort of earthlights. Who knows, that are intelligent. Like it's just we don't know, but it's fascinating. So.
Yeah. So you'd had sightings earlier in your life.
Yep.
But it was really when you went to Dunedoo in New South Wales that things really changed for you.
Yeah.
And in a big way, you started to have a lot of sightings. But how did that actually start when you went to Dunedoo? What was your first?
It was
major sighting?
August the 14th, 2012, when I went there, and it was the second night I was there. I went out to the backyard, have a cigarette, and it was about only 10:30 at night. But Dunedoo, if you go to Dunedoo and you drive through there, you'll see that everyone has their lights switched off. There's probably about 3 street lights in the whole town, so it's really dark, you know. Our street probably had about 1 street light on it right down the other end, and there was a street light on the main street right outside the pub, so the drunks can come out and get to their car with the keys, you know, and see where they're going and stuff like that. But it was the second night I witnessed, straight away, the second I lit up the cigarette, I'm looking up over the back of the neighbour's house. It's probably about 100 metres away because it was a long backyard and all this sort of stuff. And then they had their backyard and there was a little walkway between the homes at the back, a little dirt walkway and stuff like that. It's about 100, probably about 100 metres, something like that, a little bit less. And this huge ball, big white ball, it's half the size of the house. One of the biggest ones I've ever seen.
It's big.
It was huge. And it was gliding like this, just so slowly over the top of the home like that. Perfectly still almost, but gliding, no bobbling or no oscillating, no anything like that, just perfectly still ball. And as it was going over, it was illuminating the tiles on the rooftop as it was going over. That's how I'm like, oh my god, wow. And I sort of dropped my cigarette going, what's going on here? Next second, it's gone behind a tree, and then I've sort of lost it. And there was a big 2-story shed that it also then went behind, which was next to the tree, and the shed holds the school bus for the kids in town, you know, so that it's a huge shed. I never saw it come out the other side because my angle was blocked and I had trees there and everything. Literally about a minute later, in town they have cattle auctions once a month, and they keep the cattle there the night before, and then people come and auction and buy the cattle the following day. That's on the outskirts of town, right where this thing was headed. Okay, so within about 30 seconds to a minute of it disappearing and heading in this direction, all the cattle started just going crazy. It was like a chorus of cows just going nuts. And not just cows, it was dogs, birds, I think cats. I heard a couple of cats in there, I'm sure, or someone probably strangling something to shut it up, I don't know, but it was just crazy. And I'm watching for something. I couldn't see anything more in the sky, but you can hear this chorus of animals just going nuts. And I kind of knew. I said straight in my mind, I said, oh no, they're here now, you know, I was really excited. I went straight in, I told Dad that, look, what I just saw. He wasn't really interested, he'd never seen one at that stage, you know, so he was like, oh okay, that's cool, you know, and then kept watching his TV. But that's the thing in Dunedoo, you'll notice if you ever go there, you'll see that most people in the town, you know, come home and then they sit in front of the TV all night. They don't go back outside. There's no nightlife in the town. There's no people walking around the streets. It's dead, absolutely dead, you know. So most people didn't see them. Most people were just in their own little worlds in that place. But the more that I stayed there, and the more I started talking to people, I found out that my own uncles had seen them, and my auntie had seen them as well on the farm. But they didn't pay too much attention to them. They just thought of these strange lights, and that's it, you know. But yeah, you know, like I told my auntie the following day about that sighting I'd had, and it started the second night I was there. It was incredible, and from then on it just started building and building and building. And I got myself a camera, and I got a little snapshot camera as well, and a camcorder, just cheap ones, you know, and just trying to capture what I was seeing. And I started dragging my father outside so he could go and see them as well. First he was a bit reticent about going out, but then eventually, you know, I sort of just literally dragged him out one night, and he saw one, and it started changing direction and doing all these zigzags in the sky above the home and everything. And he said, what is that? What's going on? And then from then on, he started getting an interest in it, you know. And it was the same sort of look in his face that I've seen in many people now who see him for the first time, you know, come on night watches with us or whatever. And they're just amazed, and it smashes their whole paradigm, you know, on everything. And it's just a beautiful thing. I love seeing it. Changes people's lives for the better, not for the worst. Gives them hope, you know.
So with all those things that you saw in Dunedoo, did you see any come down to the ground and leave ground trace marks? Ground traces?
Okay, I did see one, and I filmed it from my fence heading towards the back of my yard, heading towards my uncle's place. And it was going down towards the ground. It was a big diamond-shaped thing like this, and it was going down, down, down. It had multiple lights flashing around it, but not flashing around it, flashing in it. So it wasn't just like little strobe lights like you hear in ports or you'd see on Christmas trees or something like that. The whole object had a glow of multiple lights glowing through it, like plasma, constantly moving around inside the object. So I'm filming this thing drop, and I lost it behind like a fence off in the distance, and it dropped. Next day, went out to the farm to see if something was out there. Had a look around, didn't see anything. I didn't even know if it was in the farm, it was just towards that direction. So. But yeah, never saw anything. I did get one report from someone close to Dunedoo. I won't mention names because he'd like to remain anonymous. Who actually did say he saw an object come to the ground. One time, my father and I saw an object coming back from Mudgee that was hovering above the ground, maybe about 5 feet, 5.5 feet, something like that. And I got that on photo. And I said to Dad, as he's driving, because on the right-hand side, and I had to sort of get the camera past his face while he's driving, and I didn't want to, make him crash or anything. So I said, Dad, can you lean right back, please? And he's like, why? I said, they're over here now. Can you see it? So he's looked at it as he's driving. He's like, what's that? Yeah. And it was just this strange ball with like two little things sticking out the side of it, white, and it was like a smoky, bright white cloud just hovering above the ground like this, and it was just incredible, just hovering there, and then it disappeared or it flew away. I don't know. But for a second, as I'm looking over his shoulder, as we're going past it off in the field, I couldn't see it anymore. And he looked back, he couldn't see it anymore either. But yeah, we've seen him close. We've seen him close to the ground, but I've never...
What would be the closest?
That would probably be the closest I've ever seen him to the ground. But closest to me, yes. If you're talking about like just the white spheres of light...
Anything really.
Anything?
Yeah.
Okay, well I've had a white sphere of light probably about from here to the microphone away, probably a little bit further actually. I was sitting back in my bed, my back up against the wall, and came in my window, just hovered, and that was probably about maybe 6 to 7 feet. Oh, not 6 to 7 feet, maybe about 4 feet off the ground. So it was up sort of high. And it was like oscillating, and then it bobbed, and it was doing strange maneuvers and stuff like that. And I watched it for about a good, 15 seconds, and sort of not moving, just going, what do I do? What's going on here? And then the next second, it's either blacked out or I've just fallen asleep. I can't remember exactly, it's a bit hazy, but I woke up about 45 to 50 minutes later, and I remember looking at the clock, because I looked at it just before the incident, because I think it was like 12:47 or something in the AM in the morning, and I was still reading a book, and I was like, oh, maybe I should go to sleep soon. So I took that time, I better go to sleep soon. This is when it happened, and I know I was awake because straight away, I ran out into the lounge room. After I woke back up, it was 45, 50 minutes later, I looked at the time, ran out into the lounge room and slept on my couch for the next 7.5 weeks, because I didn't want to go back into that room again. Not because I was afraid of what I saw, I was afraid of what might have happened during the time that I don't remember, and what did it do to me, or did it do anything, or what was in my room that I had no control over. And so I slept on the couch, and I didn't get off the couch, even when Mel came and stayed with me. She slept in the room for a week or two, and I still did not want to go sleep in there. But eventually I did, and sort of got over that fear and that not knowing.
Yes.
That's what really kind of,
Yeah. So in this day and age with photos and film, I guess the skeptics would say, well, there could be computer generated images, all that sort of stuff. What do you say to those skeptics with your footage?
Well, they're welcome to say anything they like, and skeptics have always said the same thing. Okay, it's gone from swamp gas to weather balloons to, they have only a very small, fraction of, and even when, there's stuff that they absolutely cannot explain, they'll say it's some unknown Earth-like or whatever, They have no evidence for this whatsoever. They're just guessing. It's always been the same sort of case. And what with myself, I've tried to steer off the everything's alien path, because there's so many people out there that are saying, oh, it's all extraterrestrial, it's all this and that. The general public, and what I want to try and do is show just normal people out there, Jack and Jill down the road, that something is going on above our heads. I don't know what they are, but they exist. Just try to get people to look up at the sky just every now and then, and approach it in a way that it hasn't been approached before. And the way that I've approached it like this, now the skeptics are keeping away from me, because they tried to say that I'm saying everything's alien, and I've never ever said that at any of my talks, presentations, interviews, anything. I've actually said the opposite, that I don't know what they are. Could be aliens, it could be extraterrestrial, whatever it is, it's alien to what we know should exist on this planet. which is alien in the true sense of the word, right? So, you know, skeptics are welcome to say whatever they want, you know, but look, mostly what they say is absolutely ridiculous. They haven't been out in the field, they have no idea about photography, about cameras, whatever the case may be. They always fall back on it could be a fake or the drone or this or that, whatever the case may be nowadays. Okay, that's their latest excuse. But if you can get footage proven to show that hasn't been tampered with, that will at least show that there is something there in the sky, okay? And then you can go from whether it could be a drone or this or that. And this is why I'm trying to get a lot of my footage authenticated over in Mexico so that we can show the public, and that'll convince the public more than a story about aliens abducting me and probing me. You know, if you talk about a phenomena, a strange aerial phenomena, sort of gets over the whole image stigma of UFOs in people's heads and little green men and tinfoil hats and stuff like that. And I've been trying to get around that by using psychology and by using it against people, but not against them, but using it in our favour for once. You know, skeptics have been using all their little tricks for years, trying to convince people that we're crazy. But the reality is their answers for what we're capturing sound so much more bizarre and crazy than anything we could ever think of, than the actual fact of aliens or anything like that. They sound bonkers, and they're trying to make out that we're bonkers. But the thing is, I believe that eventually it's going to reach some sort of precipice where more people believe than not. You know, you don't have to know they exist. You know, it's good to just believe. But this is a phenomenon. You need to see it to believe, to know that it's real. You know, you can't just take anyone's word for it. You know, you can it's an incredible story, but until you experience something similar yourself, you're not gonna. It's always gonna be back in your head going, did they make that up, or is it, you know, that sort of thing. So, look, skeptics are gonna be always, you know, chucking stuff at us, but you know, they're really wasting their time, and especially nowadays, because these things are being seen by, you know, people of all walks of life, as you know. You know, we're looking at astronauts, pilots, presidents of the United States of America, people in higher positions, you know, artists, musicians, all sorts of people are seeing these things, and it's not mass hallucination. It's not. We're not all crazy. If we're crazy, it means our cameras are crazy too, because we're filming these things that we're apparently hallucinating. So we're making our cameras see what we're seeing. That's an incredible feat on its own. I'd love to be able to do that. I will be a magician and I'll travel the world and earn millions doing that sort of stuff. So
you'd be the great Damo.
I'll be the great Damo Copperfield, you know? And I'll make myself disappear and make people think they're rich or something, and give me all their money and I'll be a millionaire, you know? It's not going to happen.
But I've got another question to ask you about sky watching though. Because, as you know, people are very, very keen to go out and sky watch today, more than ever that I've seen in the last 27 years, at least. And particularly with being promoted by Stephen Greer, going out and doing the CE5 protocols and calling down the UFOs, all sorts of stuff.
Everyone's getting into it.
Do you do any of that?
I don't do the CE5 protocols. I've tried it a couple of times with other groups. And look, I must admit, it did work one of the times, you know, but it doesn't work that way for me. I just get a feeling, go outside and and, you know, 70, 75, 80% of the time they're there, you know, or they're not there. Like a prompting almost, you know, and it used to be at night time for me, but now it's mostly during the daytime, which is good because I said, leave me alone at night. I've had enough, you know, because I wasn't sleeping, especially in Dunedoo, I lost heaps of weight, and then in Tari I started losing more weight because I wasn't sleeping properly, I wasn't eating properly, I lost hunger because they would wake me up at night, I'd go out, see an object hovering and do all amazing things and zip off, and then you're left with this like a hyper anxiety / happiness / euphoria / whatever the case may be, and it's like wow, and you want to see more, so you'll either stay up or you're like in your room on your computer and you're like can't sleep, and then the next thing it's like 7 o'clock in the morning and you're oh no, not another night not sleeping, and then I can't sleep during the day, so I'll be up all day again. Hopefully the next night I won't see them. So I just said, look, eventually please leave me alone. Someone mentioned it to me just to ask them to leave me alone. I was like, yeah, whatever, if they're going to listen. But sure enough, it happened, and they started showing up more during daytime hours and stuff. So, you know, which is better for me because daytime footage is better. It's harder to debunk by the skeptics, And you know, I mean, they can always say it's fake and that, but we can always get it tested and show that it hasn't been, you know, the pixels haven't been tampered with and all this stuff, and whatever's there is there. And then they go to, you know, whatever excuse they have next, which is utterly ridiculous. But look, I'd be happy to sit down and have a one-on-one debate with the president of Australian Skeptics Association.
Do you hear that?
Do you hear that, Richard? I'd love to, mate. And please, one-on-one. I've waited 26 years for you know, to take you guys on. Kidding, mate. But seriously,
Not really.
Yeah, I'll respect you. You know, you're entitled. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But when you get to a point where you're telling people that they're crazy for something that you didn't see that they saw, that's wrong. You know, and you can't put yourself in other people's, you know, you can pretend to put yourself in other people's shoes, but these guys, they don't believe in anything, you know. It's almost like atheists nowadays, you know. Look, I'm not a religious person myself, but atheists don't believe in God, they don't believe in anything else, aliens. I get attacked by them as well, you know, and I'm thinking, God, get enough religious people, please. Now, one minute the American religious people hate me and send me all these bad letters, and the next second the people who don't believe in religion hate me. So where am I stuck, you know, in between all this sort of stuff, and I don't know what's going on. So, but look, they're welcome. Everyone's welcome and entitled to their own beliefs. But for me, this is not a belief; it's a knowing. I know they're real, but I just don't know who and what they are exactly.
Yes, yeah.
You know, but I know they're real, and I will fight until the day I die to show people that something is up in that sky, you know, and I don't care what people say. You can call me crazy, I really don't care. I am a bit crazy. You've got to be nuts in this world to sort of survive a bit, you know, and otherwise you do go crazy, you know. But not in the way of crazy you're seeing, hallucinating and all that sort of stuff, you know. That's another type of craziness altogether. And you know, the United States Air Force did studies as well into people who saw UFOs, and 1% that they found had mental conditions. Just 1%. That's a general population thing anyway.
Yes.
So, you know.
In regard to the military though, and to the various authorities on the planet, do you think that there is a cover-up?
No doubt. There's someone who's definitely covering up what's going on.
And why?
Why? I think it's control. You know, if you tell people we're not alone, you know, all of a sudden it's like, okay, people may start freaking out. I mean, they had the Robinson panel and other panels back in the day that tried
studies.
Yeah, various studies that have worked out or tried to work out then how we'd react to such information, and most of the studies said that we would react in a negative way. We would overthrow government, religions would turn on their heads and disappear and all this sort of stuff. We'd go into revolt, we'd be like, you know, and we wouldn't leave our homes and all that sort of stuff. Look, I believe some people may react that way nowadays, especially religious people, you know, who believe that we're the centre of God's creation and we're the only ones out there in the universe and all this stuff. They won't know how to handle that, a lot of them, you know. But I think that because of the way that we are now, and because of internet and other things, you know, and how open we are and how we can travel around the world and, you know, and intermingle with cultures and all this sort of stuff, we're becoming more open to different things. And because of the internet and the proliferation of mobile phone cameras and all this sort of stuff, and YouTube, you know, that's opened up the gate for people to share their evidence, where in the past we couldn't do that. So something that happened across in Norway or whatever, now we know about it 5 minutes later on our side of the planet, whereas 40 years ago you'd have to fly on a plane and, you know, or make a phone call or something, you can speak to someone sort of thing, but still, you know, it's we're opening up, we're becoming more, and I've noticed that from the general public, you know, people who never used to believe in are now believing in the possibility. You know, even scientists are saying that there's definitely life out there, but whether they're coming here or not is a different story.
Yeah, it's another leap for them to take. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's a bit too much because it goes beyond what they know and the parameters of their physics and science. And we're humans. We're fallible. We lie. We fake stuff. We make mistakes. You know, and we do. That's what part of what makes us who we are. But we learn from our mistakes. You know. But the thing is, we really don't know. we don't know who's in the government is doing this, who's blocking it, but it's not everyone in the government. I had it explained to me by a guy who claimed to be in the military that it's highly compartmentalised, meaning that only certain people in high up positions would know little bits and pieces of the whole phenomena, so that if somebody grabbed one person who knew everything, they could get all the information out of him. But that's why they don't do it that way. They tell bits and pieces to certain individuals along the track, and that's why they get public contractors who are not subject to the Freedom of Information Act. So they can work on all these top secret projects and never, have to release it to the public. So yeah, they're very smart the way they're doing it. And look, no doubt that they know that it's real. I think it's a control mechanism to keep that knowledge away from us, and not just control. I think it's also a way of not freaking out the masses. Okay, because a lot of people would not go to work tomorrow if the government tonight said, or Obama got on the news and said, by the way, there's massive alien spaceships hovering above the Earth right now, and they're sending out little probe vehicles, and just go about your daily routine and everything's fine. People would be like stepping out their front door the next morning going, where's the alien ships and all this sort of stuff. That's it, I'm not going to work, that sort of stuff, and that maybe, but I think nowadays, because of internet and stuff like that, I think we wouldn't react as much as what we would have when they did all those studies back in the 60s and 70s. I think we're a little bit more mature now, even though we're still violent and we're still,
Do you think though
killing each other.
It's possible though that, like you said before, it's one thing for scientists now to have done that about and say we're not alone in the universe. In fact, we're highly likely we've never been alone. To yes, extraterrestrials are visiting planet Earth and interacting with people. Yeah. And in some of those cases, like we know with abduction experiences, for example, that maybe that's not so good.
Yeah.
So you could see perhaps
both sides of the story about what's going on. Yeah.
So do you think it would be a good idea for now, where we are in our collective evolution, to actually disclose the whole extraterrestrial subject?
I don't think it'll ever be disclosed in the way that we think or want it to. I think it's going to be a people movement more than anything. Look, if you look at Mexico as a prime example, most people, I think it's like 90% of people in Mexico not only believe but know that flying saucers exist. Now, that's because their country has a big background in beings from space and all this. But if you look in history, that goes back in many ancient cultures. Beings coming down, imparting knowledge, that sort of stuff onto people to progress. And that plays into some of my theories about us being an experiment in intelligence and life, because we've been constantly upgraded from, original Cro-Magnon or, the Australopithecus or whatever, and
you have to ask Rex Gilroy what that is.
We'll get Rex in for that one.
But are you talking about upgrading as in evolutionary, genetic upgrading?
Well, that's what we call it. Yeah. We call it evolution. But the reality is, 10,000 years ago, the scientists have found that there was a big brain explosion. That's what they're calling it. And overnight, we went from hunter-gatherers and in caves and all that stuff to having coins, pottery, art, all that sort of stuff. It just almost happened overnight. And that's too quick in the evolutionary process, which takes millions of years, So something's happened at that time. And, there's extraterrestrial junk DNA that they reckon is attached to our own DNA. They don't know what it does, but it's a theory of a couple scientists and a theory of mine that down the track that's ready to be unlocked. Okay, now some people on this earth have psychic abilities, not everyone does. And they are real. I know that it's real. Some people can, I'm not talking about like moving things with their minds and stuff like that. That's emotive, abilities and stuff like that, where you can feel people's hurt and all that sort of stuff, and other psychic abilities. I believe down the track that is what's going to be unlocked in humans, and that's what this extraterrestrial junk DNA is, sitting there doing nothing at the moment. I reckon that if you were to test the DNA on certain highly psychic individuals, you'd find that those individuals have more unlocked junk DNA than what the rest of us do. Or it's not junk DNA anymore, it's DNA. It's been changed. Always has been, yeah. We just don't know what it's there for. We think it's useless at the moment. It's not useless. I believe that we've been crafted, all these line of different, early hominids, basically, and we're the latest ones in the evolutionary process, and they know now that certain Neanderthals and Cro-Magnon walked together, and Homo erectus and all this sort of stuff, whereas before they thought one came after the other and then went into the other one, but now they know that humans also walked around with Neanderthals, early humans, so Homo sapien. So I mean, something's going on here, and I think that it's almost like a genetic upgrade, almost like they come down every now and then, or they're here the whole time, I believe, but every now and then they interact and they advance the human race, their experiment. That's just a theory. So it's not down in, on paper. Like this whole subject is out there. So
it's very much just the grey matter working, doesn't it? And you've got to take a lot into consideration. But you touched before on these psychic abilities that can get switched on. And my experience is the people I've spoken to who've reported close encounters and had multiple sightings like yourself, and we're talking multiple with you, and there are quite a few people out there around the world who have that too, but they also have psychic abilities and switched on, and paranormal experiences also parallel their lives.
with UFO experiences.
So has that been going on for you?
Definitely, yeah. Ever since I was young, I've had some sort of weird, connection with whatever it is, whatever they are. But I've also been different as well. I've always felt different than everybody around me. That I'm not meant to be here. This is so backwards. This place, it feels backwards, like a prison almost, and it just feels like
send in your letters, folks.
And it's just one of those strange things that I've always felt completely different. And I know that I've been I was telling you guys earlier that my stepfather used to take me to the TAB, and so that was that stopped when I was about 14, and then I stopped picking the winners for him, and it was because I was trying too hard, but as you know, with a lot of poltergeist activity and stuff like that, and psychic activity, a lot of kids have that empathic ability that sort of gets drummed out of them as they go through school, and they grow up to a certain point where that activity stops, in their late teens or whatever the case may be. And then maybe they might have a small bit of it come back during their life every now and then. But we all do. We all think about someone and then they call. That's happened to most of us at least once in our life or twice, and other little things that you just go, how's that possible? That was really strange. So, stuff like that. I know that these abilities exist. I believe that they're in all of us, just not all of us know how to unlock and use them yet.
Do you think, though, that experiences like you've had when it started at Dunedin, that can trigger those experiences? Like I know people who have near-death experiences, close encounters, etc. And other paranormal experiences, they seem to trigger that.
Trigger it more.
Yes, and it becomes magnified.
Sure. And
any ideas why?
Yeah, maybe it's a lesson we had to learn, and once we learn it, then they'll open up more. Maybe it's they're training us or teaching us, and to be soldiers, to good soldiers for them. It's to not back down to people on this planet and stuff like that when we're challenged. But look, the things I've seen and the things that I've experienced and filmed and photographed and seen with other people and. It's not just UFOs in the sky, it's all sorts of things in the home, weird things, they're all connected somehow, and I know that I saw when I was younger, and people around me, a couple people around me seen, like family members and stuff, like smoky brown sort of hazy masses floating down my hallway and then going into the wall, instead of into a room, into a wall, and that's it, like two of them, one after the other. And how can you explain stuff like that? It's not something that humans normally are meant to have around us, So I know that there's some sort of connection with all this, and it's about being open to it and having the ability to perceive it. And there's signs. I think there's signs around us at all times. It's just you've got to have the ability to see and notice, and then go with the change or whatever the case may be. Yeah.
What about electrical sensitivity? That's quite common. Does that happen to you as well?
Yeah, in some way or another. Yeah. I used to think that, there was two places that, two churches I used to walk through with shortcuts, going home or from work or whatever. And every time I'd walk through these churches, the lights would turn off and then come back on as I'd walk past. But I thought that was me, but then at the same time, like I walk through there with a couple of friends sometimes, and it would do the same thing. So I just thought, maybe it's just the light turning on and off. The old sodium vapor lights do, every now and then, or just before they die, sort of thing. So, but I've had electrical stoves attack me. I know it sounds crazy.
Attack you.
Yeah.
Jump up.
Smack. Okay, Mel and I were in Taree and we're watching television. All of a sudden we heard, the electric stoves and the stove tops, where you press a button down, it clicks, the piezo clicker.
Okay.
Well, we can hear like it's clicking. No gas was on, but like if someone was pressing it, right? So I've gotten up and I'm looking at it, and I picked the camera up and started filming it. Every few seconds, something's pressing it, and a little thing had come up, to light to ignite the gas, it was a gas one, and to ignite the gas. Anyway, so the gas wasn't igniting, that wasn't on, but this thing was pressing by itself. And so we're filming it, watching, going, what's going on here? We're both tripping out, and then so I've gone to press to see if it might have been pressed wrong the last time and it was stuck in, the button was in or something. So I've gone to press it, and as I've pressed and released back, an arc of electricity has come from here all the way up to my finger, and I saw it, Mel saw it, and just gone zzz, right into here, and then sort of travelled up there or something. It was just bizarre. I was like, get a stupid stove. And then after that never happened again. I've had microwave ovens start making strange sounds, like like almost like a like an SOS pattern or something. It was just really bizarre. That happened several times. It's happened in Taree, Dunedoo. It's a bunch of things. I've had mobile phones that have started charging in my hand, and I've got that on film as well, while we're in the car. And we've had UFOs coincidentally following us in the car as well. We're filming them, and Mel's like driving all over the shop trying to look at this thing. We're having people beeping their horns and sticking their fingers up at us because it's just all over the place. I'm halfway out the window with a camera up at the sky like this, it's just, it's incredible. So there is, connections between it all, and it's just, it boggles the mind, because the more, like I said, the more you look into it, the stranger it becomes.
Yes. And the more you think you know.
The more you think you know, the less you really do know.
How I know nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So when people say, it's all this or it's all that, you just know it's not all this or all that. No one can ever know the full story. And those who claim that they know where they're all coming from and all this sort of stuff, even they say that they don't know the full story, So it's...
What about people...
I don't think we're meant to.
Yeah. What about people who say, that's an Orion starship and that's a Pleiadian something. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, sheeple will jump on aboard what they read on the internet or something or whatever. So, we know that there's star systems out there called Sirius and Orion. They're named by humans. They're not named by the aliens. So why would the aliens go, I'm from the Sirius system, to a human? Because that's not what they call their own system. That's a human term. That's what a term we gave their system. So it doesn't make sense when people say, an Arcturian, or someone came and told me I'm an Arcturian from planet Arcturus, or, the star system or whatever. You'd think that unless they're trying to say, they know what we call their homeland, but wouldn't you think that if they're trying to communicate and tell us, this sort of stuff, they'd say, okay, we're from Sirius, but what you know is Sirius, but we're really called this, or we're really this, we're not Venusians, or we're, what's the other ones, the reptilians and all this sort of stuff. I think a lot of it is, conspiracy minded, a lot of, but I believe there's all different types of life out there. No doubt there'd be, these reptilian type things. No doubt there'd be all sorts of plethora of things that we have no way of even contemplating. It's just, it'd be so far out there. But look, I don't believe that I know, that they come from, Syrian or anything like this. Like, I just see them and I know that they're spectacular, whatever they are, they're beautiful, they're doing awesome things, they're showing themselves off to me. I'm not going to stipulate where they come from. And if one of them says to me, I'm from here or there, I'll be like, yeah, whatever, because I know that they can be a little bit shifty sometimes. So I'd be like, okay, I don't really, because they could tell us anything they wanted and play games with our heads, because we'd believe it, and that, not just like nowadays when they tell you stuff. If you got the guts to go and tell other people, you know, people will think you're crazy. People keep this stuff to themselves. They don't even tell their own family members, you know. But also, there's hoaxes out there. There's fakers out there. People who tell you stuff, who write books and claim they have all this knowledge, and it was imparted by extraterrestrials to them, and you know, with no evidence to back up their claims whatsoever. Just a story about, you know, the Zeta Reticula Grey who said this and that to them through their mind, and that's it. That's the only, you know. And it's not going to convince anyone. It'll convince believers because they'll be like, oh wow, you know. But I've never seen a photo of inside a spaceship with aliens hanging around going, hey, here we are. Just give me a quick snapshot before you take me back to Earth, please. You know, just pose for us, guys. You know, be great if I, you know. But it's not going to happen. It doesn't happen like that. There's, you know.
So if a UFO lands and an extraterrestrial gets out and says, hey, Damien, would you like to come on board the ship?
Yeah.
I mean, would you go?
Definitely.
Yes?
I'd go. Yeah. Take me. Don't bring me back. Take me to wherever you come from. Take
Bags
me to
packed for
Venus. Whatever. I'm going. Yeah. Like there's no way in the world I'd, you know. Well, look, when I used to see them cruising over at Dunedoo or even Taree or Borkham Hills now, and when sometimes they'll like come to a near stop and then keep moving, and I'm like, oh, great guys. I'm always saying, look, come and pick me up, come and get me. I want to get away from this shithole. I don't fit in on this planet. Why am I here? Blah 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 blah. And yeah, and then I get sad because I'm like, oh, take me home, take me out of here. You know, I don't feel like I belong here. And when I do see, like, I do wish. So yeah, it would be a wish of mine to then go with them and leave here forever. You know, maybe send a couple postcards back to Earth or something. You know, but that's about it. I'd be like, see you guys. You know, look, this is real. I'm in the Zeta Hotel, 5-star hotel up on Venus, and yeah, I'm enjoying myself. I got 32 wives, whatever the case may be, and you're not going to see me again. So yeah, I'd definitely go. Yeah,
that's a really common response actually by people. Is that a lot of people have had their bags packed for a long time, ready to leave planet Earth. Do you think that's because, and from my observation anyways, a lot of people who get involved in the UFO community are socially conscious and sensitive types.
Definitely.
So they see things on the planet as not the way that they'd like to see it.
Yeah.
Not as
not
well,
as the way it should be.
As positive.
Yeah.
Do you think that's maybe a reason why people are happy to go out and to see vibes and want to talk to the aliens and call them down and maybe get a lift off the planet? And, like, why? You know.
I think that maybe a lot of people who don't fit in or feel like they don't fit in, maybe they're not even from here. You know what I mean? And they just don't know it yet. Who knows? I've thought that about myself. Because after things you see, you've got to start questioning your own mind. Like, and you have other people say, oh, you're an alien in a human body, you're a walk-in, or you're this or you're that, and you start, whatever, that's crazy. But then when you start like having these experiences constantly, you start going, oh, could that be true? You know, you just don't know.
So let's make 3 top questions. I won't ask one because it's too hard, but 3 top questions that you could ask an extraterrestrial and you know that you could get the answer. What would those questions be?
All right, 3 top questions off the top of my head. Because normally I'd want to sit down and think about these 3 questions that I'm asking him. Because if you only get 3 questions, you want to make them really good. You know. Okay, first question: did you create us? And if I can add a little bit onto that question and make it into a 2-part question, did you create us, and are you what we think is God? Okay, is this where God came from? You know, in all religions on this earth, or whatever the case may be. Okay, second question I would ask is, okay, where do you come from? Because I think that's very important, you know. And if you said, oh yeah, I'm from another dimension, or I'm from here or there, that's great, you know, that's excellent. Okay, third question, why are we here? Why is all of this here? Why is the Earth here? Why is the Moon here? Why is all the stars here? Why is the planets? Everything. Why is this all the way it is? That's, I think, that encompasses pretty much everything, really, that end question, you know. So I think that, yeah, that'll be my 3 questions.
Well, thank you, Damien. Thank
you
you for your time today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. It was a great chat.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.